Hello YouTube, this is Remarkable Republican here once again to bring you the truth with truth-flavored bias. Today we're looking at Yellowstone National Park. It is, I believe, Area 51 in plain sight. Let me explain why. Anyone who knows anything about Area 51 knows that there's absolutely no way that the government would hide things in plain sight. Area 51 in Nevada, the site that was formerly designated Area 51, there's no way that anything's actually there now. The whole thing is clearly a front. Roswell happened in 1957, and since then everybody knows where Area 51 is at. At this point, they just maintain security there in order to make people think that there's something there that is being hidden. So this place serves as a distraction. Also, we have a lot of planes now in the hands of civilians. We also have a lot of satellites and Google Maps and that kind of stuff. So if there was something there, we'd already know about it. There's clearly not. If the best distraction is a bunch of fake security, then it stands to reason that the best hiding place is right out in the open, disguised as something else. Yellowstone is the real Area 51. Here are all of the reasons, and we'll lay them out in more detail in a minute. It is funded by all the visitors who go there. Visitors go there looking to see geysers and buffalo and what have you, and the money that they give doesn't fund those things, rather it funds research. Security makes sense at a place like Yellowstone because it's supposedly there to keep people safe from bear attacks. It doesn't arouse suspicion. We'll talk about why it actually is there in a minute, though. As for the wildlife, Area 51 or Yellowstone is not there to protect it. Wildlife is a distraction. People are too busy looking for bears and buffalo to worry about what is really going on there. They are in awe of the supposed nature. Another thing to keep in mind is that all of the various geysers there are not natural. They are smokestacks that are for the steam generators which power Area 51, which is just beneath the ground. We all know that there's a black budget. This has been well documented by Alex Jones and other authorities. And the question then is, how does the black budget get funded? Because clearly the president and Congress doesn't go around talking about the black budget. You have to have a way to fund things that is hidden. And the best way to do that is to collect money and say it's for one thing, but it's actually for the black budget. Well, if you have entrance fees at a park that a lot of people visit, and you also make them buy special licenses to fish, and then fine them for various activities as well, that is the best way to secretly raise money that you can then spend on important projects. When it comes to Yellowstone, because it is considered to be a national treasure, if the place runs low on money and there has to be a special levy of money from Congress, not many people will really bat an eye about that. Now, you would hope that good conservatives would be outraged by the overrun of cost, but most conservative politicians, unfortunately, are not very good businessmen. Otherwise, they would stay in business and make some money. There's lots of propaganda about Yellowstone's so-called geology and bison, and that is produced in order to justify money being spent on it. So the idea, of course, is to get people to spend money on saving the planet, or whatever nonsense talking point that people at Yellowstone use, and instead use that money to research UFOs. We have been conditioned by the media to think of all the people who work on top secret stuff as wearing black suits. That's not an actual requirement. Security can come in all different forms. Park rangers at Yellowstone are in fact the security of Area 51. Not all of them, of course, work on secret projects. Some of them think that they are literal park rangers, and they believe because they've been lied to, that they're actually there to defend wildlife and geysers. But some of them are in the know, and they're there to look for dangerous people who might infiltrate Area 51. One thing that you'll note about Yellowstone, if you've ever been there, is that if you look just off the roads, there are often very suspicious buildings. It looks like a place people might hang out or the rangers might organize themselves, but there's no reason why these can't be the entrances of the facility. They often have big parking lots, and there are a lot of big cars that drive through there as well. So it would be very easy for the fake security to be there, and also for people who are dressed up just as your regular everyday rangers to slip past their supposed colleagues and then get into the underground secret levels. It is, again, hidden in plain sight, and the reason why no one thinks about it is because these guys aren't being obvious and wearing black suits. Another really suspicious thing about Yellowstone is that the park is closed in the winter, and it gets super cold there, so this deters people from wanting to visit. So it works out. They can really get up to some crazy shit during the winter months. The most important thing that one should know about conservation is that it's complete and total bullshit. Bears and wolves are smart. They can go other places and live. There are many small towns in America where the bears go into town and eat out of the garbage. They make it. Wolves can get an owner. They can live on a farm. They can be like dogs. There's nothing to prevent them from doing that. And also, you might notice that it is possible for fish to exist without a national park. As for birds, they also can survive anywhere. Even in dense cities, you'll see birds that make their homes on telephone lines or on the roofs of houses. They don't need a national forest or some sort of park to live in. This doesn't help animals at all. As for buffalo or bison or whatever name they're being called, they need these parks, but do they really? These guys were losers in the game of nature. They're just dumber versions of cows. God created all animals, but he did not create them all equally. If the buffalo were smart, they would be cattle and survive. But they're not smart, and that's why they deserve to go extinct. The most important thing that we need to note about Yellowstone is that it is built on a huge lie. Anyone who knows anything about geology knows that there is no such thing as a geyser. A geyser is supposedly a water volcano. There's a bunch of heat underneath and then the water blows up. That's not how water works. Hot springs are real, but geysers are fake. The only way you can get that kind of pressure is from steam power that has to be generated by machines. There's a reason why geysers don't happen other places. There's also a reason why no one talked about geysers until the modern era. You don't hear Indian stories about the geysers because they didn't exist then. The technology wasn't there. The reason why Yellowstone produces all of this dangerous water vapor is because this water vapor comes from the nuclear generators under the ground. That's why people aren't allowed to get close to this stuff. And I have to imagine that a whole lot of people who spend time at Yellowstone, meaning a lot of the rangers who don't know what it really is, probably end up dying of cancer from radiation exposure and they never suspect anything. These old-style reactors, which really shoot water and use up more water than more modern reactors, were created by President Teddy Roosevelt during World War II, and that's why he put in a bunch of restrictions at the park to prevent people from getting too close to the reactors. There are a bunch of protections keeping people away from looking into the geysers and from exploring things in that manner. If you look closely, you'll notice that things are weird. Most of the hot springs look a lot like hot tubs. Now, that's not too weird since there are real hot springs, but the geysers, that's what gives away the game. Smoke shouldn't be billowing out of the sides of mountains or out of random little rock formations. That does not occur in nature. Again, the reason is not supposedly because there's a supervolcano. Also, there's no such thing as a supervolcano. You either have a volcano or it's not a volcano. And there aren't different categories of volcanoes. They're just simply volcanoes. And all volcanoes shoot lava, not water. So anyway, I hope that I have both thoroughly refuted the notion that there is a legitimate national park called Yellowstone, and also that I have shown you that Yellowstone is at least a secret facility for the government and most likely Area 51. Until next time, I'm Remarkable Republican, bringing you the truth with truth-flavored bias, signing out.